Today, I want to talk about a major misunderstanding by the Chinese Communist Party. Without further ado, let's take a look at this. This is an article discussing how China has been exempting many countries from visa requirements, including Japan. In simpler terms, they're increasing the number of countries with visa exemptions. However, despite this, foreigners still aren't coming to China, and that's what the article is about. From a Japanese perspective, this seems like common sense, doesn't it? But here, let me share some interesting knowledge or points to note. There are Japanese articles stating that the number of foreigners coming to China has increased this year. However, these numbers include transit passengers. This means people who are not visiting China as tourists but are merely transiting through Chinese airports to other countries are also counted as having entered China. When such numbers are included in the statistics, it gives the impression that the number of foreign visitors to China has significantly increased. Thus, it's important to examine what is included in these statistics. Additionally, in China's case, they often include Hong Kong and Macau in their trade and tourism statistics. This means they claim many people are coming from abroad or that trade is booming by treating Hong Kong and Macau as foreign territories in the statistics to produce favorable numbers for the Communist Party. Therefore, it's essential to approach China's official statistics with caution. For instance, by counting transit passengers as foreign visitors, it creates the impression that the number of foreigners entering China is high. This type of manipulation is common with Chinese information, and even some Japanese media engage in similar practices, so it's important to stay vigilant. Back to the topic, the reality is that China's domestic economy is struggling. Therefore, they are relying on inbound tourism to boost consumption. They're hoping that foreign tourists will come to China and spend money because domestic consumption alone is insufficient. But foreigners aren't coming, and many Chinese are puzzled about why this is the case. Recently, there has been a lot of discussion aimed at those who believed visa exemptions would bring more tourists, explaining why foreigners aren't coming to China. From a Japanese perspective, the biggest issue is political, but there are other reasons as well. Even for people from other countries, the idea of traveling to China is often unappealing for various reasons. For example, in China, without Chinese apps, it's almost impossible to make payments. While it's not entirely impossible, it's incredibly inconvenient. Apps like Alipay and WeChat Pay are widely used, and without them, even small purchases are difficult. While cash is still technically in circulation, cases where merchants claim they don't have change for 100 yuan bills are common. For foreigners, the idea of downloading unfamiliar Chinese apps onto their smartphones raises concerns about security and privacy. Many would think, how can I trust Chinese apps with my personal information? The fear of data misuse or future exploitation is a significant deterrent. Then there's the issue of credit cards. Normally, credit cards issued in Japan can be used abroad, but in China, many stores and businesses only accept domestic Chinese credit cards, (nei-ka). Foreign-issued credit cards, (wei-ka), are often not accepted. This applies not only to Japanese visitors but to all foreigners. Additionally, the digital payment systems like WeChat Pay and Alipay have also been seen as threats to the Communist Party's control over financial institutions, which historically benefited from credit card usage. The party's push to suppress IT companies in China partially stems from this tension. Another significant inconvenience for foreigners is the inability to use popular apps and services like Google Maps or Gmail in China due to the Great Firewall. While VPNs can bypass these restrictions, setting up and using a VPN adds extra hassle and potential legal risks, as such activities are in a gray zone in China. Moreover, foreigners cannot freely stay in all types of accommodations. In China, only specific, often more expensive hotels are authorized to host foreigners, making budget travel nearly impossible. This was not as strictly enforced in the past, but regulations have tightened in recent years. These challenges make China an unappealing destination for foreign tourists. Visa exemptions alone cannot overcome these substantial barriers. Furthermore, Japan's perception of China has deteriorated over the years, fueled by increasing awareness of the Chinese Communist Party's actions and policies, such as anti-Japanese propaganda funded by national budgets. The party, however, seems to believe that negative perceptions of China are merely superficial or driven by media bias. They think visa exemptions will attract more Japanese tourists, but they fail to realize that the negative views held by Japanese people are genuine. It's naive to think that merely easing visa restrictions will entice people to visit a country known for its political and security concerns. For the average Japanese person, and even for many others, the idea of traveling to China under the current circumstances simply doesn't make sense.